It's flu season, all right. Let's talk about that a little more. Does it feel to you like everybody around you has been sick of late? Well, if you feel that way, you're not alone. There actually have been a very high number of influenza A cases, and so we thought we'd just briefly talk today about what that means and what's been going on. So right now we're sort of in the height of respiratory season, respiratory illness season specifically, and that typically includes influenza A and B, RSV, respiratory syncytial virus, and also now we've had our favorite COVID, which is in there. Turns out COVID actually is at the lowest incidence that it's been since the beginning of the pandemic, so that's less of an issue. But right now influenza A is going through the roof. It actually is almost a vertical line north as far as number of people that are diagnosed with influenza. One of the things we can talk about is what's the difference between a cold and the flu. You know, the flu has always been one of those terms where if you're like me, when I was growing up, the flu always meant kind of the stomach flu, that you had some vomiting, maybe some diarrhea, things like that. Well, influenza is a respiratory illness, and it involves cough, fever, chills, body aches. You really feel crummy when you have influenza. There's two types, influenza A and B, that are around this time of year, and influenza A has been the one that we've been seeing the most of. And people are often very surprised just how sick they feel with influenza A. And as I mentioned, that is sort of that's the main actor right now. We're not seeing as much COVID, we're not seeing as much RSV. So you might wonder, well, how do I get this? Well, it's like many other things, and we all went through this during COVID times. You need to wash your hands because it can be picked up. It's a droplet spread illness, so it can be on surfaces for a while, and it can actually stay that way, and it can remain viable on the surface. So washing your hands frequently. If you're going to be in an enclosed environment where you know people are around coughing, you can choose to wear a mask. Hopefully, if someone themselves isn't feeling well, they would wear a mask because that would help to prevent spread to other people. The people that we most worry about are people that are elderly and have medical comorbidities, things like asthma, COPD, emphysema, heart disease, things like that can really put you at risk for a bad outcome with influenza. So you want to be extra careful. So what can we do aside from those things as far as washing the hands, maybe wearing a mask? The big thing is getting vaccinated if you haven't already. We're seeing about a 45% of the population uptake in vaccines this year. And like many illnesses, this particular vaccine doesn't necessarily prevent the illness, but it certainly helps improve the situation. If you develop influenza A, you have it a lot shorter duration-wise, and you feel a lot less sick than you otherwise would. And let's face it, it can also save a life if you have those medical problems that I mentioned. So one last thing to mention as far as what else is out there is, I mentioned the stomach flu. There's a thing called norovirus, which is very much fever, diarrhea, sometimes vomiting that goes along with it. And this is very much a contact-driven a virus that can cause issues. So washing your hands frequently with soap and water is the key, because for some reason norovirus is not killed by hand sanitizer. So washing your hands with soap and water is key, and obviously avoiding people that may have it, which I think is sort of goes without saying. So hope that kind of covers what's going on right now in the community. I'm looking forward to this flu season being done because it hasn't been this bad in a number of years. So hopefully we will get past this and we can do so and stay as healthy as possible. So thanks so much for your time. We'll talk soon.